Hey, everybody. Uh, Wearing a hat seems logical until you realize that I have to look up into the camera and I want to make sure you guys can see me. So, hello, welcome. It is Wednesday. We're going to do coffee with Kari. This is a live weekly chat with me, a funeral director, embalmer, mortician. And this is where you can ask me whatever questions you want. This week's might be a little shorter again. Sometimes I'll go up to an hour, between usually half hour to an hour, and you can post questions to the side. If they're frequently asked questions, you will be directed to the description of this video where a lot of those answers are already created in videos you can go check out. So this week as well, had a student needed some answers to questions. So I'm going to start with those couple of questions to answer for you. All right. So Neandra had asked me, there's 3 questions for her assignment. Why did I select this field? Kind of the basics, when and where they start, previous careers, future goals, the greatest rewards, and our struggles of the field. So how did I get started? I started working in the funeral home when I was 16, and it was just a part-time evening weekend job. My mom was an aftercare coordinator and met with a lot of families and attended a lot of the first viewings and things, led a lot of group getting together, like widow and widowers groups, worked with a lot of infant lost families. So she was connected and worked at these funeral homes and just, brought me in for my part-time job. But over time, I grew this comfort level there. I wanted to be an epidemiologist. I would love to be working on forensics, different things like that, either forensic anthropologist, forensic psychologist, serial killer minds, either the bodies or the people, it's so there's all these other connected areas that I had an interest in, but this really fit. And over time, my role has evolved to keep it exciting for me into more teaching, doing this. I work at the funeral home and work for several different, and I do a lot of educating now through different platforms. So it has evolved. Future goals, no, everything changes. Who known 5 years ago I'd be doing this? So I never said, hey, in 5 years I want to be on YouTube and have 100,000 subscribers. Like, never a goal. It was never a goal for me, guys. But I'm glad I am, and I'm happy to be doing this. This really has reinvigorated my love of the business. So this is definitely, I think, a future part of is more of the educating, working with mortuary science schools, maybe teaching for mortuary science schools, doing more public presentations, speaking more for groups. I kind of talked about it last week that I have cemetery groups, I have historical groups, library groups reach out to see if I would like to speak to them about pre-planning, about things to do with the business, the history of embalming, all sorts of different things. And so that is something I do, and I'd like to do more of that. I love doing that kind of stuff. So, and then what was the last part of the question? Why did I select it? It's such a comfort level for me. This is an extension of who I am. So who you guys see is pretty much how I am most of the time. I might curse a little more. You don't see the fluctuation maybe in moods. You don't really see me grouchy and yelling or things like that. So that's a part of me you don't see a lot of. But for the most part, I am kind of how I am with you guys. That's how I am with families as well. I like to think. So previous careers, I babysat. I sold camouflage at Bass Pro Shop. One of the best jobs ever. That was so much fun. Love that whole world of hunting and the thinking behind people within it. I've always been intrigued by it. We'll probably get back into doing more hunting and things this year. So that'll be interesting. And then greatest rewards and our struggles of the field. So greatest rewards, a happy family that I've served, helping people through that hard time, helping them find answers, helping them to land somewhere they're financially comfortable, meets their emotional needs, takes care of, problems that they come in with. And, on the body side, working with the deceased and having them be presentable and looking good and giving that moment to the family. So there's a lot of different rewards within this business. On this side of it, my YouTube side, just all the emails I get from people and messages about people who are scared of death, people who are scared of funerals, who had unresolved questions and they have somewhere to answer them now. That to me is just huge. If I got one of those in my whole time doing YouTube, it would keep me going. It's just, but that has been one of the most unplanned things that I could receive. So I love that. Challenges, I think just the evolving of the business, different disposition options, making sure there's correct, honest education out there, which there's so much not. Companies that promote products that are not going to work, that don't exist. People saying things are green when they're not green. People making promises about things or telling you there's financial support through Social Security when there's really not, or that veterans get free funerals, or, battling some of that inconsistency and some of that misinformation is one of the biggest challenges, I feel like, especially because I have such a public presence doing this. I feel like I have to combat some of that through this and shout louder than the people who are shouting the bad information. So I see all you guys. Thank you for commenting. I'm just trying to answer these questions for answering these questions for somebody that had asked them for a school project. So I think those are the biggest. And any challenge of working in a company or working with people and the human side and the politics of business and all of that, that to me is one of the more challenging. Yes, being tired, the schedule, sometimes you miss things in life is also definitely challenging. So that's definitely the biggest. So I think those are all three questions. Hello. Hey, everybody. What are your thoughts on specialty coaches? I made lowrider out of mine and use it for specialty funerals. Business has been great. Ooh, I would love to see a lowrider hearse. So lowrider coach, send me an email, Kari@KariTheMortician.com. I would love to see what you made and where you are. I might come and just need to do a video with you. Hello in the UK. Katie, I emailed you before and you were very short. It's okay. You're busy. Katie, I honestly, and I try to respond. I respond to every email I receive in some way. I don't dive into a lot because I do get so many emails, but I will answer questions and respond. I don't dive in deep. What did you email me about? Can you remind me? Because I can't go search right now while I'm on video. Can a person or a celebrity use a wax figure for viewing in the casket and then later be moved back into the casket for burial? They can. You would just have to create that wax figure if there wasn't one pretty quickly, but you could. Have a question. When a person is buried, is their head usually by the headstone? I've read that they bury the head facing the east towards the sun. Then their feet would be by the stone. Sandra, I do have some videos on this because every cemetery does not face east or west. Some face north and south. Sometimes it's a headstone, sometimes it's a footstone. It depends on which way you're going to read it from and how they place in the ground. But yes, traditionally, the feet are towards the east. So that when the person stands, if you stood the person up, they are viewing towards the east. But it's not always that way. So it just depends on the layout of the cemetery, and every cemetery is not the same. So, Oh, you're in Roswell, New Mexico. Well, I feel like that on in itself could be some fun videoing. Laura is saying, I think she's responding to someone. I'm in mortuary school and there's a huge variety of ages. There are a few people in their 60s. There is no age cap on when you can go to mortuary school. There's no limit on that at all. If it's something you desire and want to do, try it. But there's a lot of positions within the funeral home that you don't have to have a mortuary science license to do. In many states, you can still meet with families, make arrangements, work the funeral, work in the office, go on removals, help in the prep area. So there's still a lot you can do without having a license. So look into all these other jobs. Will they meet your needs better? Will they get you to where it is you want to be sooner? Because going back to school, you're getting into a 3-year process of school and apprenticeship before you're even licensed. So is there something else you would rather do during those 3 years that you're in and already working at the funeral home? Hey, Gemma. I took my daughter to the cemetery yesterday and we used the headstones as alphabet learning tool. I love it. Yeah, do what you got to do. You know, cemeteries are great for walking around. They were great when I was pregnant, trying to find baby names. Every cemetery I went to, I just wandered around and would add them to the app I used for baby names. And then I would run them by my husband at the time. And then I would add more and run them by. And usually he nixed like all of them. All of them. But all those like older school names like Hazel and Mabel and stuff are coming back. Well, they are back. So it was perfect. It was perfect for it. Good morning from Texas. Hello, Texas. What is on my hat? So this is, it's Kuyu. It's they do like hunting products in California. So when will we meet your boyfriend? Well, that is a great question, Vintage Lizzie girl. I don't know. I don't know, trying to find the right time and the right video, not just like a, hi, here's my boyfriend video. That seems really, really weird. So we'll find something. I also have some coming up, toying with an offshoot YouTube channel idea. So there's some things coming up that may be fun and interesting that you guys will like. So we'll see. If a body is far too decomposed for viewing but is intended to be buried, what do you do? They'll probably stay right in their body bag and go in the casket and go for burial. If I had my husband cremated, will I be able to keep his urn? Of course. Nowadays, why are more people choosing cremation? Is it just a cost consideration? Kevin, it's really not just cost in some situations. Yes, definitely. Sometimes because it's a lower cost option, that's the only option for families. Because once you go for burial, you then have to have all of the costs at the cemetery. Opening and closing, grave space, vault, casket. You don't have to have a casket. You can bury in the same thing that you would be cremated in, like a cardboard box or something. So some of those costs are equal across the board. But if people are doing burial, they often want to do viewing or gathering or something else, which you can do all of that with cremation. I think when people think cremation, they think direct cremation. But direct cremation and immediate burial are the same cost at most every funeral home. Typically, where you get into it is those cemetery expenses. And those can be substantial when it comes to expense as well. I emailed you about a terrible funeral director we had for her dad. Bad arrangement experience. I'll have to go back and read that, Katie. Over. I honestly, guys, I do get a lot of emails. And I try to get to them within a week. I'll sit down and kind of go through emails and get them all responded. And then next morning I'll have like 27 new ones. So it is very time consuming and I'm happy to do it, but it's just finding the time. And sometimes there's not time right away. So unless held private, are all funerals and burials open to the general public? So if you place a notice, if you announce that time for anybody, yes, it is a public event. It is publicized, it is public. So you can't control as much who comes to it. Once it goes in the paper or on the website or you've announced it, it's a public event. If you want it private, then it's by word of mouth only, by invitation only. And so if you want to control who's there, you have to keep it private. What about the game show? Sharon, oh my gosh, I forgot I even said anything. I'm waiting for it to be on the schedule. The date is not scheduled yet. So as soon as it's on the schedule, you guys will be the first to know, because we can't announce a lot. It's part of the, secret clause within going on shows, I guess. I'll tell you guys more about it as soon as I know. We're all like itching to announce and for everybody to know. How long can a body stay at a crematory without being cremated? They may not even stay at the crematory. They may be at the funeral home prior to cremation, or at the medical examiner, or wherever, if they need to stay in cold storage. It just depends. There's supposed to be a time limit, but sometimes the person has to go on hold for funding, for signatures, for whatever the issue. I mean, we've had weeks and weeks and months of somebody being held prior to cremation because we have to wait for whatever it is. Hey, Kelly, welcome. Thank you. Hey, Drew. Minimum grave in New York City, 7,000. In a city, it's going to be quite large of costs because, it's going to be quite large because they only have so much space in a city. JJ, do you have a new man? Yeah. I haven't really shown you guys much about him. You've seen, I think, the back of his head twice on some of my social media. I just haven't talked about him a lot yet, wanting to, I don't know, just kind of save it for me for a while, and then I'll start sharing more. Thinking about Ukraine, what do you think about all the bodies lying on the streets and aren't able to be picked up? Would they get picked up and just buried in mass graves? Eventually they'll have to, if you look at conflict and war over kind of history, some of the battles, they kind of come to this moment where they stop and they go in and they clean out all the dead, essentially, because of the contamination and everything. And so there's almost like a little break. They go and clean out and then they go back. I don't know the situation firsthand, obviously, over there, and how they're going to be able to handle it. It's kind of last necessity, unfortunately, that if it's not safe to go out and get those bodies, they just have to stay, which is horrible. And especially when it's, children and things lying out there that you can't go and hold them and lay them to rest and do all that. Like, that's just terrible. But that's the reality and the ugly side of all of it. You should interview or collab with TikToker Mortician Nathan Morris Music. I don't even know who that is. I'll write that down and see. No idea who that is. Hey, Ryan Torres. Nathan, because I don't even have TikTok. I do watch reels on Facebook once in a while, but I don't TikTok. I'm obsessed with, let me tell you who I'm obsessed with. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Jason Lebo, Lebo. Like, I just can't, he cracks me the heck up. I don't even know. Oh, have you ever had a case where the mother had life insurance on the son and the wife thinks she is entitled to part of his life insurance? No, but I can see that happening, where it becomes a money thing for sure. For sure. Josh, thanks for the hat comment. Hi, Kari. I'm watching from the Philippines. Hey, in the Philippines. Let's see. I know I had 3 questions. Let me run over to my email that I hadn't printed out yet. Kari, have you ever smoked cigarettes? Back in the day, used to once in a while when I was drinking, but it didn't stick. I'm such a smell phobic person, like super sensitive to smells, and it wasn't worth the smell at all of cigarettes. I just, ugh, I'm such a, yeah, no good. Does your morning workout each morning help you with your work? I do feel like staying strong helps a lot with working around the funeral home and just being able to go and not get winded by doing things and feel strong to lift bodies and help lift body, caskets and things like that. So I do feel like being strong and being active is important just in general, but it does, I don't know that it helps, but it is definitely helpful. What's your favorite go-to comfort food? Gosh, it depends on the moment, honestly, what I go to. I really do love me some tacos. But I could also just go for like wings and a beer, glass of wine, and like snack food with that. It just depends, I think, on my mood. Sometimes I just want mom food, stuff from when I grew up and how she makes it. It just depends. What do you guys like? What are your comfort foods? What do you like? What does your soul need when you're upset and craving things? Or cake? I'm a sucker for cake. I just love cake. Yellow cake, chocolate frosting, like a dark chocolate fudgy. Mm. I have not found a good gluten-free place around here that can make a good gluten-free yellow cake. The boxed ones work, some of the gluten-free, but yum. And that's my those are kind of random questions, but Jeffrey Epstein wants to be my new man, and it's not the real. Come on, guys. Have you ever seen a Fisk coffin? I'm obsessed. Yes, I have. Granny Takes a Trip, and they're interesting. So I'm sure eventually I'll do a video on it. Chips and salsa. Yeah, chips and salsa at a like a Mexican restaurant. Oh my gosh. I'm so full before the food even comes because I eat all of it. Have you watched any Faces of the Forgotten videos? I've watched a few. Not a lot though. It's just one of those things. I don't have time to sit and watch a lot of videos. I'll watch those little snippets like reels every once in a while, but I don't watch a lot of other people's content because I just don't have time between everything. Look at all the food. You guys are going to make me starving over here. Jeffrey Epstein. I'll wait. I don't know. This one might stick for a while that I'm with. So I don't know. We'll see. So let's see other questions that were sent. Have you achieved? Oh, this one makes me so uncomfortable. Have you achieved a certain amount of celebrity status as a result of your YouTube channel? How regularly do you encounter clients who recognize you? I think celebrity is such a weird word. It's far from. I'm just Kari. So I am surprised I have not sat with a family where they have said something. Because to me, if I had had a loss and I was getting ready to go make arrangements, I would have Googled some stuff probably. And if you Google funeral stuff and how to make arrangements or different things, you're bound to have one of my videos pop up at this point. There's just so many, there's so many that I've put out there. I just feel like they would have maybe seen one, but I'm okay with them not, because I feel like that would be a uncomfortable moment for me, just because I don't like the focus to be on me at all when I'm making arrangements, because none of it's about me. You don't need to remember my name. You don't need to, anything. I just want you to be taken care of. So yeah. Just depends, honestly, about all of it. I did at a visitation once, a man came up and talked to me and said, he got right in my face, and it kind of threw me off because he's a big guy, and he got right up and he said, "Are you Kari Northey?" And I said, Yes. And he was like, I love you on the YouTube, kind of thing. And it was very sweet, but I have no idea how to respond to that still. It still makes me super uncomfortable. And because it just hardly ever happens. And it just makes, I sit and thank the person over and over for being so kind and watching anything that I do. So it's definitely interesting. A Fisk coffin, it is like a whatchamacallit, it's a cast iron coffin. And over where the face is, typically there's like a glass piece. So it's like a case to be buried in. They're super heavy, super solid. And some of them have like these little locks around the side, or sometimes they're welded closed. So all different ways. But that's the gist of what a Fisk coffin is. So go Google it and it'll bring up perfect images. How could we know that jewelry isn't taken out of the casket when the funeral directors close the casket in the viewing room before coming in the chapel for the funeral service? You can stand with them and watch them close it. Doesn't mean they're not going to open it later. You just have to trust. If you are untrusting, then take the jewelry off and do not bury it with your loved one. So it's really simple, honestly, is you either trust them and have to believe that they're not doing something bad, or you have to just remove the jewelry and know where it is and that it's with you. In cemeteries, is there a reason why some would have really tall headstones? They look like towers. That's just what they chose. Back in the day, they would do these huge obelisks, and that's what they would put out there. And I don't understand how back in the day, I mean, those cost a lot of money. Like at today's cost value, it just insane amounts of money. So I can't even imagine back then having that much money and how they did that and stuff. It's just very different. Thank you, Bridget. Is there something you suggest that will help you get ready for boards? I feel like the education I'm getting is not the best, unfortunately. So I'm worried. I want to get prepared now. Studying with different people, having, people bounce terms off of you, not just learning from Quizlets and stuff. Quizlets are helpful, but learning in your own way and coming up with ways to remember some stuff. Because the thing is, you're building all this information into your brain in mortuary school to take this one national board test. And after that test, you're not going to use a chunk of that information and those terms really ever again. Just to be honest. So you'll know the gist of them. You may just forget the exact term. So however you can get that information in your head, if you need to come up with little gimmicks like, which order are the nerves, artery, and veins laying within your body, like in order. And down by your navel, N-A-V-E-L, it goes nerve, artery, vein as you're going across. So there's little ways that you can remember certain things. So it's the more people you study with, the more tips and tricks you'll learn. If you're not in Funeral Directing 101 is a group on Facebook, and it's all students. You can connect with other students, set up Zoom study groups, set up whatever would help you. I'm sure there's all sorts of students in there that would love to study with someone else. Have you considered writing a book? If yes, what would it be all about? So I have 2 books that I have going a long way probably from being done. If I will focus a little bit of time and energy, that's one thing. I said it last year. I'm going to say it again this year. I want to carve out at least an hour or 2 a week where all I do is sit and I write on those, because both books, one is fiction, one is nonfiction, and I would love to write the books and get them out there. Whether they're going to be good or not, who knows? But I would like to accomplish that feat, because that's something I have always wanted to do. I've always liked writing, whether it's good or not, I don't know, but I've always liked it. Do you find it cheaper to put a name on a tombstone before you pass? My brother, 44, died from cancer past 7 months. Today, it's 4-person plots. No, Sandra, it's actually this. I mean, it's the same cost whether you buy it now or whether you buy it later. Costs will go up later, so you might save just because of that. But there's not really a huge cost, except they have to go out and put the final date on it after the person dies, which just does cost. In our area, it's typically around $200 to go put that final date on. Have you ever popped a bloated body? I've never popped them. Like, I'm trying to think what movie, but no, I've never popped them. Would you ever do a live embalming if the deceased okayed it before death? I would prefer not to, but I can see that eventually it might happen. It would just get censored all to heck with YouTube and everything. That's the only downfall. So not quite sure. Thank you, Mumbler. Hello, Andy. With my mom, the funeral home didn't put her necklace on all the way and put her ring on the tip of her finger. Rings often are not going to fit the person. If they've been in the hospital, they have a lot of water weight retention. They just may not fit on. And so they're going to put things on the way that they can easily take them off if they know they need to come off. Necklaces, we typically do not hook. We will put them behind so we can easily take them off if we need to. So a person in a casket is all this visual show that we've created where there may be some duct tape, there may be safety pins, there may be little stitches here and there to try and get clothing to lay the right way. There may be hidden little pins that hold the necklaces where they need to be. We're working against gravity. So a person laying down with a necklace, it's not going to hang. These earrings, if you lay down, are going to be off to the side all wanky. So what a person wears standing up is not going to look the same laying down, but that's what people want, is that visual. So we have to try and create with everything we have to try and create that visual for people because they expect that. Are there any specific smells you struggle with when it comes to the deceased that you have a hard time dealing with? Old urine, sometimes poop smells. If it's like an old funky, I'm trying to think what else. Not a lot bothers me. Sometimes soup or decomp, it just hits you. It doesn't matter how strong it's not about your strong stomach. It is a reflex in you if that smell hits you. And it doesn't matter. You kind of start gagging, and it has nothing to do with I have a strong stomach. It has nothing to do with that. Not a strong stomach thing. I've never thrown up. I've gagged many a times with decomps because that smell it's created to not let you intake it. How can you know that the graveyard and the funeral home giving you a good deal? What is a good deal? There is a general price list that has to be presented to you so you know what all the costs are. So there's no deals or whatever. Their costs are their costs. They can set them wherever they want. It's up to you if you want to price shop. It's up to you if you want to look around at different places. But what is on that paper should be what they are charging you. How long have you been a mortician? So on 4/4 will be 20 years licensed, and I've worked in the business for 27. So yeah, someone said on 4/4 I need to do like cake with Kari or something, or some kind of a celebration for 20 years licensing. That's crazy. I don't feel like I'm old enough for that. Oh. My dad actually smelled good in his casket, probably the cosmetics. Yeah, in some places they'll put different scented stuff within the casket. So kind of masks if there's any chemical smells. The cosmetics can smell powdery, flowery sort of thing. So you can have some different scents. People can bring in perfume or cologne and they can add those to it too. So definitely lots you can do with it. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I am going to ahead. I got a whole bunch of work to do to get ready for some things and yeah, get some videos edited. I went and watched a live glass live. Well, I went in person to watch some cremated remains being put in glass, like orbs for families this week, and videoed the ones that gave me permission to video for the public. So I had two different people that allowed me to do the process from their loved one. So I need to go edit all of that content so you guys can see the process of putting cremated remains in those swirled like glass type objects. Super fun. I can't wait to see. I get them back tomorrow and that'll be the finality of the video. So hopefully sometime next week I'll have that edited and posted because it's such a cool thing to do and to be able to have for your loved one rather than just sitting on a shelf or, if you're going to scatter, you can at least keep a little part of them in that way. So always options, always options. Well, thank you. I hope all of you have a good day and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.